Okay, so I want to talk about two fundamental concepts with lifecycle marketing before we jump into the phases. So number one, we're going to treat prospects. Imagine this. This is a really novel idea. We're going to treat prospects like people. So you'll hear the things we're going to talk about today. You're going to hear a lot of things like, these are probably things you hear your grandpa say, but it's like, we're going to take care of your prospects and customers. We're going to give first, right? And we're going to build relationships with people. We're going to treat them the way that they want to be treated. The second, and by the way, I just think a lot of kind of mainstream marketing is kind of going the other way. It's like, it's as if we're not even marketing to people, and it's, I don't know. Anyway, so we're gonna treat prospects like people. Second thing is that we're gonna use systems to scale relationships. Now, Infusionsoft, in terms of systems, there's software systems and there's other types of systems. Infusionsoft is one of the software systems you can use to implement lifecycle marketing and scale relationships, but there are a lot of others. And this is we're really more about, the conversation today is more about you intentionally creating systems at each phase of the customer lifecycle. And again, some of those will be software, some of them won't. Some of them will just be processes internally. But here's the reason why. Think about this. If you were to, let's say I gave you a piece of paper and a pen and a phone, and I said to you, okay, how many relationships could you manage really, really well, like perfectly? We had this concept called the relationship threshold. What is your relationship threshold? Could you manage a relationship with 15 people really well, or maybe up to 50 people, right? I don't know what the number is for you, but the point is there's a point at which you don't really have the ability to manage the relationships and do it the right way on your own, manually. Just like the farmer who's out there, there's only so many rows that he can plow in a given time when he's on his hands and knees, or I guess when he's plowing with the horse and he's on his hands and knees planting, and the tractors start to introduce some really interesting opportunities now for him to scale. So what is your relationship threshold? And we're gonna see throughout this that the technology can become our friend, and we can use systems when we feel like we're reaching that relationship threshold. Okay, so lifecycle marketing. There are 7 distinct phases of the customer lifecycle, and we're going to talk about all of them today. Your goal is not to come out of this with 7 plans about all the different phases. I don't want you to do that. I want you to become aware of all the 7 phases, identify opportunities in all of them, and we're going to actually have exercises that will help you to quantify the opportunity that is sitting in every one of these phases for your specific business, and it's going to be different for all of you. But lifecycle marketers look at all 7 phases and they build a plan to gradually improve instead of just focusing on 1 or 2 of the phases. And you'll see what I mean when we get there in a second. Now, many of you have downloaded the Lifecycle Marketing Planner, and you've got that printed and you're ready to go. We're going to be referencing that today and going through a whole bunch of exercises and writing in it and stuff like that. If you don't have it, then, well, you should read your email, and shame on you, but you can just grab a piece of paper and write some of these things down. You can download it later if you want to go through it, okay? But keep track of ideas. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I'm going to be sharing examples. I want you to apply examples that are outside of your industry to yourself. I can't give you a specific exact example for you, but if you can start to develop that skill of saying, okay, well, here's his example that he's using in another industry. How can I apply it to me? Have that mindset as we go through today. Okay, step number 1. I want you to, in fact, if you got your Lifecycle Marketing Planner, I want you to go to the page, where are we here? Page 5, and it says Lifecycle Marketing, and we're going to write in the boxes at the bottom the key metrics that we're going to watch. So here's the basic idea. When I'm a survival marketer, I'm watching like 1 key metric usually. How many sales am I getting? And that's kind of where, like if I need to increase sales, well, how do I go increase sales? I don't know. I could double my sales team or double my the money I'm spending or energy I'm spending at the top of my funnel to generate interest. In lifecycle marketing, we're gonna have some key metrics start to emerge that will give you much more granularity in how you know how you're doing at each one of these phases. Okay, so let's jump into this. I'm gonna just go through these pretty quickly, and I want you to write these down. So, how do we measure how well we're doing at attracting traffic? And we're gonna breeze through these pretty quickly. These are the 7 phases of the customer life cycle. Attract traffic, capture leads, nurture prospects, convert sales, deliver and satisfy, upsell customers, get referrals. So step 1, how do I know if I'm attracting traffic? Well, it's not in the number of customers I have, it's in the number of visitors that I'm attracting. Now, visitors might mean visitors to my website. It might mean people who call my office and they're a phone visitor. We don't usually call them that, or they walk into my office or they walk by my trade show booth or whatever. These are visitors. And if I have a lot of visitors, I'm attracting traffic well. Capture leads. How do I know if I'm capturing leads well? Well, I measure the number of opt-ins. These are prospects whose information I capture and put into a database of some kind so that I have the ability to follow up in the future. It's an opt-in. I get name, contact information, permission to follow up. How do I know how well I'm doing at nurturing prospects? The answer there is hot prospects. What's the number of hot prospects that are entering my sales process? I might be selling through a sales team or selling online, but how many of these are showing signs of being interested in buying my products and services? Convert sales, we know what that one is. That's just sales. Deliver and satisfy, the way that we're going to know how well we're doing there is through measuring our customer satisfaction. We use a framework called Net Promoter Score, which is a really great framework for managing that and knowing how well you're doing. And then upselling customers, write down lifetime customer value. What is the value of my customer for the entire time that they're with me? And how can I increase that? I mean, what if I could double my lifetime customer value? And then finally, referrals is the way we measure how well we're doing to get referrals. So somebody came up to me and was like, hey, Scott, I got to get more sales, So we're having this conversation. Okay, well, how many people are coming to your website? He's like, well, I get about 40,000. And well, it was like, is that a month or a year? He's like, oh, no, a month. I'm like, all right, so where is his challenge? What does he need to focus on? Well, he probably needs to focus on opt-ins. He's got visitors coming to his site. We don't need to spend much time there right now. Let's focus on opt-ins. A dentist talked to me one time, and he's like, yeah, I've got to find ways to get in new customers. I got to do these advertising campaigns. I'm like, well, how many past customers do you have? And he says, well, I've got about 10,000. And I'm like, all right, hold your horses here, pal. Why don't we start really satisfying and wowing our existing customers and find ways that we can bring them back in before we start going and spend a bunch of money on the front of the funnel? So that's what you're going to do as you start to have these metrics in place and look at them. You're going to know where to focus. Okay, let's turn the page to the next section. We're not going to spend time on this today because of a lack of time. But lifecycle marketers know their customers. One homework assignment for you today is I want you to fill out this entire worksheet. You're going to identify who is my target customer. What are the pains, problems, I'm on page 7, pains, problems, and challenges that you help them to overcome. What are the key benefits that they seek? Why they should buy from you and not your competitor. And then you want to know their objections. What are the most common objections to doing business? And then the last thing, which is really critical, is who is not your target customer. Okay, so fill that out. We'll get into a little bit of that here in a second as we talk about magnets, but I want you to spend time doing that. You can't ever spend too much time on that. All right, so we're going to go through the life cycle marketing phases.